Let's talk about things I learned at the regional on the 19th. It coincided with the YCS Philly. You guys who are friends with me on Facebook know that I decided to run my Chris Angel Psychic deck. I couldn't get all the cards I needed for my Heradic build, so I decided to run Psychics. And I must say the deck performed really well. And although the deck is a more or less a tier 3 or maybe lower deck, I have to say it is damn competitive. Mainly because people are lazy. They don't read cards. They only care about cards that are in the top tier, and anything below that is not worth investigating. And it's kind of sad, but that's just the state that we're in terms of the game. That's just where we are in the game right now. People only care about what's in the top meta, and not realizing that at any given event, you go to an event and play a different deck every round. And that's what happened to me. I played a different deck every round. Of course, you got the people like Asian Persuasion, my teammate. He played 5 Inzectors and like 2 or 3 windups. So, but me, I played a different matchup every round. And the deck performed well. I'll talk about some of the successes of my build. Ultimate Axon Kicker, I'll begin with him. I had so many people try to Dark Hole, Mirror Force, Bottomless, Smashing Ground, set their Snowman Eater, just all kind of random stuff to get rid of this. I had a guy torrential it and then argue with me before he picked it up and read it that it was killed. And I'm like, please read the card. And the card is just stupid in that way. People, I just like rocked back in my chair like, people really don't read cards, do they? The single max C. The, you guys, windups and Inzectors, when they try to go off with Hornet and the little Zectaliber, I mean, you're drawing lots of cards off of Max C. Well-timed Max C will stop them in their tracks. So I still think it's a good card. I only mained one just because I didn't want to have Max C's against stupid matchups like Heroes and Gravekeepers and, decks like that where, or even Chaos Dragons where majority of the special summons are inherent, or if I played it, it's just a 1-for-1. So that's why I just played the one. So that way, if I did get those matchups where they're going to go balls to the wall special summoning, I had the linchpin card. Armored Axon Kicker performed better than I expected. I figured that, well, he'd be nice to have so I can immediately synchro off a Serene Witch play when it brings back a monster. But instead, I was able to use him to wall up. You know, uh, some guy, game 2, thought he'd be a cool kid inside Thunder Kings. He hit my Serene Witch, and I got Esper Girl. So I guess he thought he was feeling real cool because, if I decided to synchro, Thunder King would negate it. So, my Esper Girl comes back. I summon the Armored Axon Kicker, and in my graveyard, I have all kind of random psychic clerics sitting in there. Ooh, that's not a cleric. I had 2 clerics sitting in the graveyard. So I'm just like, punch. I'll take 950. He like picks up the card. He's like, oh, you get a special summon monster from your graveyard? Like, yeah. He's like, oh my god. So I get this. So I guess he figured I was gonna synchro main phase 2, and I didn't. And he summoned another Thunder King, and he's gonna attack Esper Girl. And then he was like, do you get the card when you synchro with it or just when it dies? I said, regardless of how it goes to the graveyard, I get the card. So he just set 2 back row and ended his turn. And so on my turn, I just swung with Axon Kicker again and got my second cleric. And, I took another 950. And, you know, I'm just walling up for no reason, just free cards. And then eventually I was able to go Nat Beast, summon the Psychic Commander, go Hyper Psychic Blaster, and just sit there and just like pummel him to death because he couldn't clear it. So, like I said, that card performed really well. 2200 on a normal summon without tribute. You know, it can really kick a lot of decks in their teeth when they're sitting on 1900s thinking they're really secure. Miracle Synchro Fusion. I only played one. I wish I had played two. Had I played two, I would have definitely dropped the Mind Control because this card was lackluster. The focus of my deck is to pump out either Nefarious Synchros or Psychic Synchros. And most times Mind Control doesn't let me do that. Yes, it's amazing to steal a monster and to allow me to, you know, go into an Exceed or into my generic Synchros, but what I discovered and one of the things I learned was if I focus my deck on doing what it should be doing, then this card is not necessary and it allows me to win easier. That finally came to me about round 3 to just focus on what the deck does. And then I started 2-0-ing people after I come to the realization that that's what I should be doing instead of trying to play it like a meta deck. Play it like it should be played, cranking out Psychic Synchros and Ateria Synchros and just locking down the field. I did not make my stroke once. The time I made Lever, it lost me the game because I overlaid 2 of my clerics when they had good targets removed from play by their effect, and I tried to Lever back Dino Rabbit players, Cobblezaws or something, and poke for game, and he dropped Gores. I had been thinking that he was sitting there from weakness, and that's why he wouldn't commit. But after the game, I thought about it, and I was like, I asked him, I said, you didn't commit because you didn't want to get rid of these clerics and then have me bring back my Psychic Nightmare and my Thought Ruler, did you? He said, that's exactly why I did not commit. And I was so mad. I was just like, you know, but, you know, sometimes you think you got to go for it. I had that game shot. But, you know, had I just continued to play the game long, I could have been generating so much advantage just sitting there waiting for him to clear these. But I was getting frustrated because I have a game shot. I need to get aggressive and just letting the deck do what it does. And that cost me the game. So I definitely should have played a second Miracle Synchro Fusion just because just like heroes can just top deck that Miracle Fusion and go off with Shining or something, I can top deck this and go off with this guy and start gaining life points. And he's, you know, damn near indestructible. I'll talk about some of my failures. In addition to running Exceeds when I should not have been, I'm really upset that I only played these 2 Nefarious Synchros. In a previous video, I said I didn't want to play the turtle because I didn't want to pitch the spells. But then I remembered that Dolka is a card, and although his negations are virtually free, you know, that effect is game breaking. And there were so many times where I was forced to synchro for Black Rose or, you know, and blast my cards too, just to get rid of a problem card that I didn't want to deal with, or just this and gain a little bit of life points, where I could have just made Landois and, you know, rode the turtles back to victory. And in future builds, and if I decide to play this deck in Nats, then Landois will be in my extra deck because negating monster effects is crucial. Stopping the Gores, stopping a Battle Fader, stopping like Pulsar, stopping Red MD, stopping the Tomb, all those cards just too sick. Other failures that I felt I should not have been playing Electric Virus. Again, I don't need their monsters. I don't need to move them out the way so I can get a poke in. I only run 1 tribute. So if I steal their monster, I have to have my tribute monster to tribute to get rid of it. And it was just so lackluster. Another failure, and I wouldn't call it so much a failure, was I ran Smash and Ground. I wish I'd ran a second Lightning Vortex because they can only lance one monster. You know, when your opponent has a Dolka, Levier, Kabazals on the field, Lightning Vortex over Smashing Ground every time. Yeah, you neg one, but you blast their field, so you know it evens out. And I wish I had ran a second Lightning Vortex. Instead of the electric viruses, I wish I ran a second King Tiger. The reason why I like King Tiger, he's an Earth. I can still go into my Nat Synchros, and it stops so many plays from my opponent. I mean, it won me a game against Dark World. He had been summoning Brow to bounce his Grapha, and finally I drew after I killed the Grapha, I dropped a King Tiger, and he was stuck. 2 turns later, I dropped the Nat Beast, and he scooped. You know, Nat Beast wins games, and then backed up with King Tiger. They can't drop their minions. You know, had he been able to draw gates, he would have been able to summon his Brow, because it would have been at 17. King Tiger wouldn't have affected him, and he could have started beating my face in. This card is not as good against Dark World as you may think, because Deck Devastation Virus is a card. So, I mean, if you draw it before they Deck Devy, amazing. If you draw it after they Deck Devy, you can't pitch it when you draw it because you have to resolve Deck Devy's effect. So, bleh. And finally, Snowman Eater. I don't know how I felt about this card. It put in a little bit of work, but I don't know. I didn't side it in against a hero matchup because I knew he was going to bring in his Super Polys. And he made Gaia a couple of times, and I just ran over Gaia and gained a bunch of life with Axon Kicker. Then he made his Shining, and then I made a Hyper Psychic Blaster and killed it. So, you know, my guys are bigger than his. My guys are bigger than most guys in the game, so I just don't know. I mean, it's good against Dino Rabbit maybe, but, you know, Dolka's a card, so I just don't know how I feel about Snowman. And that's pretty much, you know, my regrets. You know, I don't have very many. In conclusion, when you take a lower tier deck to a competition of any side, Premier, Regional, whatever, you have to be aware of a few things. Your plays have to be flawless. Lower tier decks have no room for error because they are designed to, or they don't have the one card top deck that, you know, just nuts on them. It's like, oh my god, I'm down and my opponent has too much advantage. I need a Dragonfly. Oh my god, I have Dragonfly. And then just start going off and nutting all over your field. You know, these lower decks require, you know, meticulous planning and then gradual +1s and +2s over the course of the game. And if you miss those pluses, you allow your opponent to come back. And with that said, the 2 misplays I made at the regional lost me 2 matches. And then my final loss was because I played against Gravekeepers and I couldn't clear Necro Valley. And as you know, my deck needs the graveyard. And so I don't call that, you know, anything significant other than the fact that I couldn't draw an MST for the damn Necro Valley. Well, let me know what you think. This is pretty long-winded. If you guys are still interested in seeing a tutorial with the Psychic deck, I'll be more than happy to produce one. I really like the deck. I don't know if I'm going to show my updated deck list because, like I said, I might be playing this in Nats. So if you see me, expect to see one of these poking you for 2,900 or trampling one of your guys for 2,900, or expect this guy to be getting me +1s. So it's DUBKDAD and I'm out.